On a freezing November night in 1998, emergency dispatch in northern Vermont received a phone call that lasted only 11 seconds. No one spoke. There was no breathing, no static, just the faint sound of a grandfather clock chiming 13 times. The call came from Blackwood Manor, a mansion abandoned for nearly 20 years. When police arrived, they found the front gate locked from the inside, the doors chained shut, the windows sealed with rotting boards, and yet, inside the dust-covered foyer, resting on a small wooden table, sat a telephone receiver hanging off the hook, still warm. What happened inside Blackwood Manor that night remains one of America's strangest unsolved mysteries, and the deeper investigators looked, the darker the truth became. Blackwood Manor stood alone at the edge of Ashen Ridge Road, surrounded by dense pine forest and decades of whispered rumors. Built in 1912 by wealthy industrialist Edgar Blackwood, the mansion was once a symbol of elegance and prestige. But by the late 1970s, it had become a symbol of tragedy. The Blackwood family vanished in 1978. Not one member was ever found. No bodies, no ransom note, no sign of forced entry. One day, the family simply ceased to exist. Neighbors reported seeing lights flickering in the upstairs windows for weeks afterward. But when authorities searched the estate, every room was empty. Dinner plates still sat on the dining table, beds remained unmade, and in the nursery upstairs, a music box played by itself when police entered. After that, the mansion was condemned and abandoned. Locals avoided it. Teenagers dared each other to approach the gates. None stayed long, because everyone said the same thing. At night, Blackwood Manor sounded occupied. Footsteps echoed in empty halls. Doors slammed on their own. And sometimes, a phone rang from inside, even though the phone lines had been disconnected years earlier. At exactly 11:13 p.m. on November 14, 1998, dispatcher Ellen Markham logged an emergency incoming call from Blackwood Manor. She answered with standard procedure. 911, what is your emergency? Silence. Then came the clock chime. 1, 2, 3, until 13. Then the line went dead. At first, Ellen assumed it was a prank, but one detail unsettled her. The Blackwood number had been inactive since 1981, yet somehow the signal traced directly to the manor's original landline. Deputy Sheriff Raymond Cole and Officer Nina Perez were dispatched immediately. Their patrol dashcam footage survives to this day, and what it captured has never been publicly explained. As they approached the property, their headlights illuminated something strange near the front gate. Fresh footprints in the snow. Barefoot, small, child-sized. They began at the road and ended abruptly halfway to the porch, as if whoever made them had simply vanished. The officers forced entry through a side door. Inside, thick dust coated every surface, yet there were disturbances everywhere. Fresh marks dragged across the floor, chair legs recently moved, candles melted onto silver holders, still soft to the touch. And then they found the phone, in the main foyer, receiver dangling, line dead, but warm. Deputy Cole called dispatch to confirm no one else had entered. No movement had been detected. No broken windows, no alternate exits. Then Officer Perez noticed something upstairs. A light, flickering beneath the door of the East Wing nursery, the same nursery where the music box had once played. They climbed the staircase. Each step groaned beneath their boots. When they opened the nursery door, they found a child's rocking chair moving back and forth, on its own, and sitting on the floor beneath it, a cassette recorder, still running. Inside was an audio tape. Its label read, "For those who come after." The tape was badly degraded, but forensic audio specialists recovered most of its contents. The voice belonged to Margaret Blackwood, Edgar's wife, last seen 20 years earlier. Her recording began calmly. "If you are hearing this, "We did not leave willingly." Then her voice trembled. "There is something in this house that wears familiar faces." She described strange events beginning in October 1978, her husband appearing in 2 places at once, their daughter Lucy speaking to unseen visitors in locked rooms, mirrors reflecting people who weren't there. Then came the most disturbing part. Margaret claimed the grandfather clock in the foyer began chiming 13 times every midnight, and each time it did, someone in the house disappeared. First the maid, then the groundskeeper, then Edgar himself. But according to Margaret, Edgar kept returning, only different. He smiled too long, he blinked too little, and he kept asking, "Why are there still so many of you left?" The tape ended with screaming, a crash, then silence. At 12:04 a.m., dispatch lost radio contact with Cole and Perez. Backup units arrived 15 minutes later. Both patrol cars remained outside, engines running, lights on, but the officers were gone. Inside the manor, investigators found no trace of struggle. No blood, no bodies, no footprints leaving the building. The cassette tape had vanished. Only one new item was found, a fresh photograph resting on the nursery dresser, taken moments earlier. In it stood Deputy Cole and Officer Perez inside the foyer, facing the camera, eyes wide with terror, and behind them, a family of 5, the missing Blackwoods, smiling. The FBI briefly took over the case in early 1999. Then, without explanation, federal agents sealed all evidence. Dash cam footage was confiscated, audio files classified. The manor itself was demolished in June 2000. But demolition crews reported bizarre incidents. Equipment failures, workers hearing voices over dead radios. One crane operator quit after claiming he saw a woman in white standing in the rubble, holding an old rotary telephone. After the house was destroyed, investigators believed the mystery would end. But 6 months later, a 911 dispatcher in Albany, New York, received another silent call. Again, no voice, no breathing, only the sound of a grandfather clock, chiming 13 times. Caller ID displayed, Blackwood Manor. To this day, no one knows what happened to the Blackwood family, or Deputy Cole, or Officer Perez. Official records list them all as missing. But in 2017, an urban explorer uploaded footage from the former Blackwood property site. The mansion was gone. Only foundation stones remained. Yet, buried beneath frozen leaves, he found something impossible, an intact rotary telephone, connected to nothing. As the camera rolled, it began to ring. The video cuts out the moment he answers. He has not been seen since. And if the stories are true, the next call may already be waiting for someone else to pick up. So what do you think happened inside Blackwood Manor? Was it mass hysteria? An elaborate cover-up? Or something far darker hiding behind those sealed walls? Comment your theory below. And if you enjoy unsolved mysteries that blur the line between truth and nightmare, subscribe now to the Raven Threads, because every thread leads to mystery.